What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rugged Adventures. Very happy to have you guys here today because we are talking about you, Mr. 9mm versus the 10mm that she told you not to worry about. And you guys might be thinking, this is the most ridiculous comparison ever. The 10mm obviously is drastically more powerful than the 9mm, and that is a fact. However, today we're going to put to the test if that really makes any difference, because if you shoot an unarmored target with either one of these, they're both going to do significant damage. And so we're going to see how these actually stack up directly against each other in the wood block test, in the steel test, and the soda pop can test. And today we have this water jug that has a piece of level 3A armor on it. We're going to see what happens when each one of these actually hits a piece of armor and there's a soft target behind it, because if you shoot, again, anything with these soft target, you're probably going to do some significant damage. This one will probably do more. But what happens if we shoot something with armor on it? Does it even affect the target that's behind it? Does it cause significant damage? And I think that a water jug here that's new and sealed with that concussive pressure will show us if this, with its much more energy, in some cases, getting near 5.56 out of a 16-inch barrel in energy, is really that much better than this lowly little 9mm. So if you guys have been following me for any bit of time, you guys are familiar with the wood block test. This is a 1x1x1 wood block made up of a 2x12 that we cut into 8 pieces. Gives us a nice little thing to shoot that actually has some variation to it. We'll start out with the 9mm. The goal is to see how deep these things go into each one of these wood blocks. We're about 7 yards away. 9mm first. Okie dokie. And we will hit it with the 10mm next. So I guess my accuracy is getting slightly better, which you would think after all these videos it would, because I put the 9 and the 10mm right next to each other. And what I didn't tell you guys before we started is we're using 115 grain full metal jacket, 9mm, 180 grain 10mm, and the Palmetto State Armory dagger with a threaded barrel, and this Smith & Wesson M&P full-size 10mm. They're about the same at about 4.5 inches of barrel length. And when we see here, you can see that the 10mm is bigger than the 9. It makes sense, and it looks like it's more kind of bored out there. As we go through the second layer here, nothing's really going on. And being so close together, they got a lot of the same path to each other, and fortunately didn't hit any knots along the way. So we are 3 boards, 4 boards through, really nothing going on, no tumbling or anything like that. And here in the 5th board, if you guys can see that, that is our 9mm, and about another ½ inch or less into that piece of wood is our 10mm bullet. Neither of them came out the other side. And so on this wood block test, this 10mm that is, on paper, tremendously more powerful than a 9mm, especially in the bullet weights, the 115 versus the 180 grain bullet weight. You would think that the 10mm would have penetrated significantly farther into that piece of wood, but it didn't. It did technically win, and so the 10mm is more powerful in this case, but we will move on. Now, pistols aren't for masonry, but I do have 2 8x4 by 16-inch solid concrete blocks here that we're going to shoot with each one of these to see how they do, because that 10mm with all of that energy, very much up there with some lower power rifle rounds. See how it does against these, and I'm willing to put a mag into each of these blocks to see what happens with them, or if we can get through them in a reasonable round count. So let's see how that goes. So we've backed up a little bit because with shooting concrete like that, I'm not looking to either get a bullet or a piece of shrapnel in my bubble goose, and I'm hoping that that doesn't negatively affect the accuracy too terribly much. And that's something to bring up between 9 and 10mm. Your 9mm is going to have less recoil, it's going to be easier to control, and it's going to be easier to get back on target after each shot. So even though 10mm does have a power advantage, sometimes that can also be a negative because there is no free lunch. And while there's a lot of folks out there that are going to say, well, then you should be stronger or be a real man or something, there's a lot of folks out there who are simply not going to be able to do that, not put in the work to do that, or just not really want to. And so that is where 9mm sort of has an advantage over the 10mm. So let's go on to the left target for the 9 and see how many it takes to break this in half, if it does, with 15 in the magazine here. jam here. And it doesn't look like we actually got all the way through the target. We'll take a look at it when we go down range, but that was 15. And now we will do 15 out of the 10 millimeter. That brings up another point with mag capacity. For every 9 10 millimeters, you can fit 10 9 millimeters in the same size. They're also shorter, so you can have it in a smaller frame. So even though this holds 15, that holds 15, this is a full frame, full size handgun that is a compact, according to Palmetto State. So on the right hand side now, with the 10 millimeter. And I do believe that that may have broken it completely in half. We were getting a lot of debris back at us, so don't try this at home, kids. So this is our 9 millimeter block. Obviously, a lot of pock marks on it, a lot of, you know, hits, but not cracked in half at all. This thing is still fully intact. I believe we got 15 hits on this one, and although it did some damage to it, didn't break it in half. On the other hand, this one that we shot with our 10 millimeter, it's broken and fractured and cracked in many different spots. The thing is, I think at least 1 or 2 did not make hits, which is a thing with the 10 millimeter with that, you know, recoil and such. Sometimes you anticipate it if you haven't trained a lot on it. And from where we were shooting back there, which was probably, I don't know, about 10 yards away, I don't know if we hit every one, but if we tip this thing over, it is completely annihilated. You can see easily in this particular test here, and it is cracked also all the way across the back. If we just go like this, it is done. If we take the 9 millimeter one, it's still pretty much intact. In this particular case, the 10 millimeter really just ran away with it in that gigantic amount of energy, that big bullet flying through the air. Next, I'll show you guys what happens to it when you shoot steel. Then we'll get to soda pop. And finally, what would happen if you shot a soft target with body armor. So this is still our steel plate that has not been penetrated by any pistol round that we've shot at it. It is 1/8 inch. It is not armor. It's just regular mild carbon steel. We're going to shoot it again in case you guys didn't see any of the other videos that I put out on the various pistol caliber comparisons. It's probably not going to go through, but we can compare the dents. So I actually walked it off when we were about 18 yards away for the concrete test, where the 10 millimeter really just ran away with it. We're back to our 7-yard range, and we're going to see about going through this piece of steel, which I pretty much know isn't going to happen, but you guys can sort of compare the results of what what ends up happening with it. So the 9 millimeter, and that's down there towards the bottom, and then the 10 millimeter, which I'm getting much better with. It is definitely a learning curve, learning how to deal with the amount of energy coming out of this thing, even in a full-size pistol. And we will put that wherever it goes. Looks like right next to it, and take a look at what the damage is. So 9 millimeter in non-armor doesn't really make that much of a dent, even in just 1/8, you know, carbon steel. This again isn't armor. 10 millimeter makes a gigantic dent in there. But here's the thing. Neither of them come through. This is your 9, this is your 10, 45 and 40 are all up in here from different tests. But the moral of the story is, for as much power as a 10 millimeter has, it does not go through the 1/8 steel, neither does the 9 millimeter. Whatever is on the other side of that steel probably wouldn't be having a great day. So I'm changing the order of things. Since we just shot that steel plate, let's see what happens to a soft target behind armor. This is a Predator Armor 3A or 3 Plus steel plate. We have shot this with 308, 150 grain 308 from 25 yards away, right up there from our regular shooting range. Did not go through it, only left a dent, kind of chipped the front. So neither of these are going to go through this target, I can guarantee you that. But let's see what happens to our friend, we'll call him Aquaman behind there. Let's see what happens to him. We'll do 9mm first, see if that actually does any damage to the jug here with it up against this this barrier, like if you were hunkered against a wall, you had armor plate on. See what happens with the 9mm first and then 10. So I put our GoPro there. It's a GoPro 8. It's been flaking out on me all day, so we'll see if it actually catches this, and we'll see slow motion the side view of what happens when we hit them with these bullets, and hopefully the shrapnel from the bullet won't take out the GoPro, which would be unfortunate, I guess. 9mm. Didn't even move the duct tape really. Let's hit it again just for good measure. Let's say you get hit twice in the plate. So it looks like our friend here is perfectly safe. No water leaking out of the bottom or anything. Really just some duct tape damage, and I'm very curious to go to the slow-mo when I go to edit this to see what that looked like as far as the compression and whatnot. I'm guessing the 10mm is going to give us something, you know, far more spectacular to look at. So we moved slightly over here to the left because I really wasn't comfortable shooting that plate directly on with the 10, but we are going to put 1 or 2 into it and see what happens to our friend Aquaman down there. So we're going to try to hit it in the center. We did back up a little bit. There was a piece of shrapnel of some sort that came back and landed near that table. So back up just a smudge, and we'll see if we can put one in the middle from this range. Let's hit it again. And again. See if anything happened with that. So we 100% had 3, 4, 5 or so solid hits, including some ones right here in the middle of this plate. Let's see if anything's going on with our guy. He does look a little smushed, but is not bleeding at all. Nothing. The top didn't come off of this. So between a 9mm and a 10mm, I'm sure you're going to be having a much worse day with the 10mm, but it wasn't even enough to cause any real injury that would have caused a hydraulic leak from our friend Aquaman here. Last and almost certainly least is our soda pop challenge. This is where we take exactly 1 shot through all of them, see which one blows up the most, and in general, I think 9mm has done pretty well. The last time I tested 10mm, it absolutely turned these things inside out. We tested it against the 45 ACP, and the only thing that I remember taking away from that test that I can recall right now is that the 10mm absolutely dominated this test. So we're gonna see about 9 versus 10. All right, we got 12 delicious Sam's Cola in a row there. We're gonna see what the mighty 9 can do and then compare it with the 10mm. Let's get sticky. Now that one only took out not many. So we only got 6 on this one. And I got to be honest with you, it's a little bit unexpected. And I actually did find the bullet, so I would assume it stopped in one of these. But when I took the shot, it felt a little weak. It just felt like it didn't have the pop that even 9mm has. Since we have plenty of these things, I'm going to reset it up. We're going to shoot it again. It's the first time we've ever shot it twice and see if it gets any more, or if 6 is just where we're going with this one. We're reset. Let's see if there's any difference with this, with the different bullets. Sometimes you get, you know, bad bullets. I don't know. That felt more like it. So I'm about to huck this GoPro 8 Pro or Black or whatever it's called into the woods because it flaked on me again. This is the second time today that it's flaked on my slow-mos, and you know, when you only get 1 shot at this, it's hard to trust the things. But we cleared the table, as I'm sure you guys saw from the camera angle over there, which I left that thing recording too, so we have to turn that off. But over here, all of these have been blown up. They've been gone through, but some of them, if you look like this one right here, not really, you know, I mean, it's blown up, but it's not eviscerated. And we'll compare that with the ones that we shoot with the 10mm. I assume that these were from the front of the stack, and maybe these were from the front of the stack, but I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it on video. the way that that first 9mm went off, it just did not seem to have the oomph that even a 9 has. The second one definitely felt right, so I think that we may have gotten a low load in that first 9mm. So we'll reset it up, do 10. We got them reset up. We're gonna try the 10mm, and what I did was I made sure I cleaned up all of the stuff around there so you guys can see if there's any difference in the way these cans are. And if that GoPro flakes out on me, our next video may be rifles versus GoPro Hero 8. So we'll see how that goes. So the 10mm got 11. However, I don't necessarily think that it was the 10mm's fault. If you look at these, and I want you guys to look at this part first, look at the destruction of these things. They are turned inside out, basically. A level of destruction and impact that you didn't see with the 9mm. However, if you look at this one here, it looks like it had went in here and out here, and I'm guessing maybe it was like this, I don't know, but I am guessing that as that bullet was flying up here, it came out this way, either because I pulled it that way or just because of what happened inside each one of those cans deflected that bullet to the left. So technically the 9mm took out more of these than the 10mm did. That's just a fact. However, I can't rule out that I wasn't a culprit in that. The biggest thing today is 10mm versus 9mm. The 10mm obviously is much more powerful, but when it came to penetration, as far as getting through our 1x1x1 wood block, it only went about half an inch farther. And you know, with all that energy, you would have thought it would have went a little bit further than it did there. However, I found that 10mm, 9mm, 45, they all tend to go about the same distance in a chunk of wood like that. On our masonry, obviously 10mm ran away with it, just beat that thing up, destroyed it. So, you know, if there's a brick wall and someone's shooting 10mm at you, you're probably going to have to find somewhere else to hide. Steel, couldn't go through either of them. The 10mm definitely did a bigger job on steel. And and then the can test, and then our Aquaman test was really no difference behind a piece of body armor with that water bottle. And so if you're looking for the most powerful cartridge out there, if you have to deal with bears, which I actually do have to deal with bears on an occasional basis in Tennessee, although they're black bears and you can scare them away by sneezing. Hey, bear! The 10mm is probably where you want to be, but the 9mm definitely has some advantages in lower recoil, better time back on target if you need a repeat shot, higher mag capacity because they have smaller bullets, and you can fit it in a smaller gun because they are shorter. So if you have people that aren't necessarily as strong or as well trained, the 9mm may be the overall better pistol caliber for those people than the essentially like almost rifle powered 10mm. But guys, if you like this, if you found some value, or if you just had a good time, which is really all I'm trying to do here, hit that like button for me, subscribe down below, leave me your comments, tell me how stupid a 10mm versus 9 test is, because you know it's ridiculous. But stick around and I'll see you in the next one.